We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email John at nufcmatters.com to arrange today.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all believe. And it feels alright where the worlds collide. Manipulation stands to make us break. What's that sadness coming over you? You're wishing upon a star. You're wishing it on a star. You are, you are, you are. You fight back, it's an all-out attack. It feels like I've been taken on the world's machine. Because I want it more than anyone can dream. You look back and it's all in the past. You tell me how you live by all the things you do. Well, you can be yourself, but maybe I'm not you. And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all.
Welcome along to another episode of Those Were the Days with our very own George. Hiya, George.
Hello, Steve.
Good to see you. What year are we going back to today, George?
An interesting year, 2016, 2017.
Okay, George, over to you.
Okay. I'll start as I usually do with putting into perspective what else was happening other than football. In the music world, Justin Bieber was hitting the top with joint tops with Love Yourself and Sorry. Then One Dance with Drake featuring the Wizkid. And Work, Rihanna and Drake. Stressed Out, 21 Pilots, Panda, Designer, Hello, Adele. And further down the table, 2 or 3 other Justin Bieber things. So he was really, really hitting the heights during this year. And at the cinema, if you go to the pictures, as we used to call it, Arrival was making all the money. It's not a picture I see myself. The Strangers I did see. The Wailing. Hell or High Water was big feature. The Green Room. And The Handmaiden. Some good pictures. Not all of them are seen, but certainly making a lot of money at the box office. So that's what was happening outside of football. Inside of football, this season was bizarre. It was unless you lived in Newcastle, you'd have thought Newcastle were walking into a disaster. And one of the things that the Southern national press, not the Northern national press, was saying was that because Rafa had never managed in a league lower than the Premiership, he wouldn't be able to handle the pressures of promotion and all the rest of it, which, just couldn't understand. The man's a football man and he'd manage where he is, and that's what he set out to do. The only saving grace for Ashley, in my view, in this one is that Rafa persuaded him not to be too harsh on salaries because of relegation. So he was able to persuade most of his first team to stay with him and bring in one or two additions, which were to bolster the team. So here we go, 2016-17, and you're seeing the strips that we were wearing at the time, and not that particular logo was never very popular, but that shirt was, and that shirt I thought was quite nice shirt to wear. And the goalkeeping jerseys were fairly standard. And so the season gets off, and we start with a usual series of friendlies. With we went to Ireland to play Bohemian and walloped them 6-0. Played Doncaster Rovers and got the 2-2 draw. Sporting Loughran from Scandinavia came, and we went there and we beat them 4-0. Southend United, we went to them and got a 2-0 win. And Vitesse Arnhem came to St James's, and we beat them 3-2. So some good workouts there before the league started. And the league started at Fulham as our first league game, and a game which most people were talking about it as being between the potential champions, because Fulham were playing well, had bought well, and interestingly enough, in the Fulham side was the lad called Kearney, who during that summer Rafa, I think, would have liked to have bought for Newcastle, but I don't think Ashley would come up with the funds, so he stayed at Fulham. Anyway, we went to Fulham with the following side: Sells, Jammat, Hanley, Lascelles, Dummett, Colback, Hayden, Anita, Ritchie, Perez, and Gale, and Member, Darlow, and Sterry, and Games on the bench. And it wasn't a bad game, and we played quite well, but we were struggling to hit the net. And Fulham with Burton, Odie, Callas, Maddy, Malone, Kearney, Tunnicliffe, MacDonald, IAT, Eluko, and Smith. A dangerous side, but a side that if we're interested in promotion, we should really be challenging. And we did quite well, really. Unfortunately, a silly mistake just on a stroke of half time by Grant Hanley let Smith, the dangerous forward, through, and he slotted the ball past Sells, and we went 1-0 down. Second half, we had a go at Fulham, but we just couldn't get the net into the net, and so the second half played out as a 0-0, and then Fulham ended up with the 1-0 win, leaving us with a first game defeat, which was a bit disappointing. But at least we gave quite a good account of ourselves, which is something. The next game was at home to Huddersfield Town. Huddersfield weren't regarded as championship potential, so this is a game we should be winning. And we have the unchanged team that we sent to Fulham, and Huddersfield came with Ward, Smith, Hudson, Schindler, Low, Hogg, Moy, midfielder who a number of people were interested in, and I think we were at one time, Lolly, Chakunga, Parra, and Wells. Moy, of course, American, but had a good reputation for playing football. And games started quite well. It looked like we were going to go for this, but unfortunately, right on the stroke of half time, 45 minutes plus one, it says here, we made a real hash at the back and left Wells, the big centre forward, unmarked, and he just headed in a simple goal to make it 1-0 to Huddersfield at half time. Second half we had a go, and it looked like on 60 minutes we were right back into this, and Gale scored on 60 minutes, a nice little goal for him, running through from deep and playing a 1-2 with Diarmi and slotting in the equaliser, and everybody thought, well, let's go on and get the winner. But in fact, it was Huddersfield that kicked on, and paying the substitute for Lolly was on hand in 82 minutes to tap in a simple ball from a corner and make it 2-1 to Huddersfield, and that's how it stayed till the end. As a game, it was a good game of football, but we just were struggling to get into our stride. It seemed to be, and Huddersfield won with not a lot to bother them. 4 bookings, 2 for us, 2 for them. Hudson Lowe for them, and Gale and Ritchie for us. And the Ritchie card was something of a controversial one because the referee never actually waved the card, but recorded it on his notebook that Ritchie was booked, and the game was quite a surprise to the Newcastle management after the game. But these things happen, and that'll not be the last mistake that referee will make, and not be the first, and not be his last. So, but a 2-1 loss, second game to lose, the first home game, real downer for the Magpie faithful. So the next game is home game against Reading, and we're now at a stage where everybody's saying the same thing, that maybe the Southern boys are right, that Rafa doesn't know how to handle a championship. Well, now's the time to start showing that he does, and we go against Reading with an unchanged team again, and with changes on the bench, and Reading come with some big names, but names that are on their way down rather than up. Al-Habsi in goal, Gunter McShane at fullback, who's been around quite a long time, Vandenberg, Lobita, Evans, Williams, McCleary, Swift, Behrens, and Gummerant, a dangerous German striker. And we set off at 100 miles an hour. I remember this game particularly because we really set off and looked as though we were going to make this, and it wasn't long. 20 minutes and from a free kick, and Isaac Hayden headed in the first goal. So we went in, thought we'd go in at 1-0, and then right on half time, 45 minutes, a trip by Anita on McCleary, and Reading get a penalty, so we go in 1-1 and not 1-0 as we'd hoped. However, second half, I don't know what Rafa said to them in the dressing room. They really came out and had a go at Reading, and on 50 minutes we got a penalty. Perez brought down by Evans, and upstepped Gale upstepped Ritchie rather to make it 2-1. Within 10 minutes, we got a nice through ball to Gale, who slided in to make it 3-1. And then right at the death on 89 minutes, another neat ball, through ball from Shelby, laid it on the plate for Gale to make it 4-1. So we picked ourselves off the floor and got a 4-1 win. Gale got booked for standing in front of the goalkeeper, but the other interesting thing about the bookings was that although it wasn't a particularly dirty game, Reading had 6 people booked: Obita, Williams, Gunter, Kermerant, Evans, and Swift were all booked in this game, and to see that many people booked is unusual. But it wasn't a particularly nasty game. I think just late tackles and mistakes people were making. So at least we've got some points on the board at this stage, and that's something we really were needing after two losses. The next game is away to Bristol City. Bristol City are tidy footballing side, but nobody's tipping them to win any trophies or be up the top of the league. But they're a tidy football side, and we go with a couple of changes. Clark comes in into the back four, and Hanley's dropped to the bench, and otherwise we're the same. Sells, Anita Clark, Colback member. The Sells, Hayden, Ritchie, Gale, Diarmi, and Gouffran. Bristol City, O'Donnell, Matthews, Flint, Magnuson, Goulburn, O'Neill, Reid, Koja, Tomlin, Freeman, and Abrahams. And it's a good game. There's a lot of early chances, and the earliest one that falls to us is the 19 minutes, and it falls to Gale, who's scoring goals for fun at the moment, and he makes it 1-0 to Newcastle, and that's how we go in at half time. The second half is end-to-end stuff as Bristol really have a go, but we're able to resist that, and with the use of our substitutes, Perez for Diarmi, Shelby for Hayden, Aarons for Gale, we're able to ride out the storm and get a 1-0 win. Maybe it's an indication of some of the things that were happening, like time wasting, when the only person to get booked on our side was Sells, the goalkeeper, and I don't think anybody would be surprised to find that was for time wasting. So a 1-0 win away from home. So we're picking up points and starting to look like the team that we hope we would be. So the next game is a home game against Cheltenham, and is in the cup, in the I think it's called the Capital One Cup now, but it's a cup. The League Cup changed its name so regular. There we are. English Football League Cup, it says on here. So they obviously didn't get a sponsor that year. Anyway, it's the League Cup second round, and we're playing Cheltenham at home. Sort of banana skin that Newcastle have had in the past, and people are nervous about it, and I think the nervousness knows in the attendance. Only 21,000 at the game, which is unusual for us, because even previous games had been up to the 40s and 50,000s. So Cheltenham come, and but it's straightforward for us. We get an early, a reasonably simple goal just before half time by Perez, just before the whistle goes, in fact, and we go in 1-0. We come out and really have a go for the first 5-10 minutes, which is so it's no surprise when early in the second half, on 48 minutes, Perez gets a second to make it 2-0, and it works out to be a very comfortable 2-0 win to push us through to the next round of the League Cup. The next game is quite an important one, as we're playing Brighton, who are largely regarded by the Southern press as being the favourites for the title, and it's important to us in the sense that where we want to be, but also that Brighton are managed by our former manager, Chris Hughton, and it's a good game. I enjoyed this game. It showed Lascelles in a good light. He didn't just lead the team as captain. He also scored the first goal with a typical Lascelles header to give us the lead and take the pressure off on 15 minutes. And we went in 1-0. The second half was end-to-end stuff. Brighton really having a go, and it was going end-to-end until 63 minutes. A beautiful volley from Shelvey just on the edge of the box makes it 2-0 to us, and we have no difficulty holding on to that lead, and it's a 2-0 win against a team who are largely regarded elsewhere as being the title challengers. The Brighton team got some interesting names in who are still around today. Stockdale in goal, Bruno, Dunk, who still plays for Brighton, Duffy, Bong, Knockout, dangerous German winger who, again, I think Rafa would have liked to have brought to Newcastle, but funds weren't there. Salak, Sidwell, a midfielder who's played against us for many years, K.L., Murray, and Baldock, and a very talented side, Brighton, playing, and as I say, managed by Chris Hughton. On their bench, of course, there were names we knew. Loa was there, and we remember him from his days with us. And but he came on very late and didn't really make an impression on the game. Their dangerous player was Knockout, no doubt about it. In terms of the game itself, we had 4 people booked: Shelvey, Perez, Ritchie, and Lascelles, and mostly for shirt pulls and that sort of thing. There was nothing nasty in the game, but it was a good game to watch and be at. I've got another story about this game, which I'll talk to you at the end, because there's an important photograph I want to show you later on. But that was an important win, that one. And for me, a conversation after the match, which I know you helped provide, Steve, that Steve Hasty and I had with Rafa Benitez and Chris Hughton. And as I say, I'll talk about that with a photograph at the end of the session. So we go away to Derby. Again, another team that's being touted as possible challengers for promotion. We go with unchanged team, but changes on the bench. Yedlin comes in, Mitrovic comes in, Lazar comes in on the bench. So quite the changes lower down the order. So we go to Derby, who have got again some interesting names on. Carson in goal, who's still around playing now. Christie, Shackle, Keogh, Olsen, Bryson, Anya, Hughes is still playing now at Crystal Palace. Russell, Wilson, and Vidara. A good side, Derby, playing good football, and going to be a challenge for us. Well, we set off like an express train, very, very quick play, and in 20 minutes, it's a beautiful play from Shelvey and Ritchie combining, led Gouffron and down the left-hand side to make it 1-0 on 20 minutes, and gives us the sort of start we needed. Second half, Derby come back at us, but we were able to hold out without much giving much away. And lo and behold, on right at the death of that, almost the last kick, Yedlin, who'd come on as a substitute for Gouffran, made it 2-0 right on 90 minutes, just before the whistle went. So we get a nice 2-0 away victory, which puts us in the top 3 now, because of the series of wins we're having, which is fantastic. Next game is the away game at QPR. This is on a Tuesday night, and it's a game QPR aren't regarded as one of the contenders, and if we're going to get this top of this league, this is a game that we should win, and we go with an unchanged team. Clark's still in the side, and Mitrovic is in instead of Gale, and it's just Newcastle from start to finish. Shelvey on 12 minutes puts 1-0 up. Perez on 30 minutes puts 2 up. Second half, we come out and we're even better. Second half, Shelvey gets a second on 48. Clark gets a header from a corner on 56, and Mitrovic gets a volley inside the box. Now he takes the net off on 63, and then to cap it all, Grant Hanley gets a having come on for Dummett as a substitute, gets a header at the end from a corner on 80 minutes to make it 6-0. A very comprehensive win. QPR side, Smithies in goal, Hall, Corker, Bidwell, Bahuna, who used to play for Man City, Cousins, Henry, who used to be Man City, and Perch, who used to be Newcastle United. Antone Tobacco, Cherry, Washington. A good side, but with players that are just on the wrong side of development and not going anywhere special. But a huge win for Newcastle, and puts us in the top 2, which is quite thrilling for everybody. So we're now back home to a home game against another team regarded as possible championship contenders, Wolves. But it's in the in the championship, and we got the same side out: Sells, Anita Dummett, etc. With only changes that are on the bench, and Darlow's in, Clark's back on the bench, and Wolves come with a strong side. Ikern, Doherty, Ifora, Bath, Salis, Borthwick, Jackson, Edwards, Olangu, Costa, Bodevarsen, Brito, Tierra, and reputation for being a good football side, and are sitting in the top 4 as we are. And we're looking good as we kick off, but unfortunately, within half an hour, an unfortunate own goal by a member hits the back of the net for Wolves, and 29 minutes we're a goal down, and we struggle to get back into the game in the second half, but it's not going too badly. But lo and behold, out of nowhere, a dangerous Spanish centre forward, Costa, makes it 2-0 for Wolves, and we after that we never look like we're going to get back in it. It was a bit feisty in midfield, and Wolves had 6 people booked, and we had 3. Dummett, Ritchie, and Diarmi booked for us. Then right at the end, Anita trips Costa off the ball basically, and gets sent off, but not by then the match is over as far as we're concerned. So a disappointing loss, when really we should have been looking to win that game, because they're definitely one of our challengers. And as quite often happens, and too often for me, like in with Newcastle, we play a team in the league, and then within a few days we're playing them in the cup. So the Saturday we play Wolves in the league, and on the Tuesday we play Wolves in the League Cup. And after the debacle on the Saturday, people have a slight worry about what's going to happen in this game. Well, they needn't to worry that the slight changes. Darlow goes at the goal instead of Sells. Yedlin, Hanley, Clark, Lazar, Ritchie, Shelvey, Colback, Gouffran, Diarmi, and Murphy. and the changes are significant because it's across the whole team, and Rafa's still put a strong team out, but it's interesting the changes he's done. And coming onto the bench was young Freddie Woodman as the reserve goalkeeper. Wolves, virtually the same team that played in the league, except that the dangerous Spanish centre forward isn't in that side. Costa, and considering the trouble he gave our defenders, nobody's too upset about that. But we play quite well, and it's no surprise on 29 minutes when a beautiful through ball is knocked back out of the defence by Wolves goalkeeper, punched out. It drops them at Ritchie, who on the edge of the box just volleys in, and on 29 minutes we're 1-0 in the lead. Wolves are upside down, and we take advantage of that because a couple of minutes later, and a beautiful ball by Shelby puts Gouffran through, and he makes it 2-0. So there we are with a comfortable lead. Second half, Wolves really have a go, but we're quite solid at the back on this occasion. And there's no doubt the fact that Costa's missing because he upset the defence no end was a big help to us. So we go through to the next round of the cup 2-0, and huge sighs of relief around the Gallagher, I think is the best way to describe it. The next game is away game in the Championship to Aston Villa. Games against Villa are always exciting and have been historically over the years wherever we're playing. We're back with Sells in goal, and the team back to what it was in the league before the cup match. Sells, Yedlin, Lascelles, Clark, Dummett, Hayden, Shelby, Ritchie, Gouffran, Diarmi, and Gale. Tioti's on the bench, Mitrovic is on the bench, and Lazar and Perez also on the bench, and Atsu on the bench. Aston Villa have Golini, Chester, Elphick, Baker, Adoma, Westwood, Jedinak, Omani, Bakuna, Kojak, AU. And AU, very dangerous forward. They had just brought him into the side. Very, very dangerous forward who would need the watch. The match is a good football game, and we go at Villa from the off. We're not sitting back, and it's no surprise on 28 minutes when a beautiful shot from Matt Ritchie is headed towards the goal, but it gets a big deflection off Elphick and ends up as an own goal to him on 28 minutes, and we go in at half time 1-0 up. Villa are come at us very, very strong, with IU causing us all sorts of trouble. But we seem to have weathered the storm and settling for a 1-0 victory. Well, that's never a clever thing to do because with players like coming off the bench like Shabola came on for Baker, and on 88 minutes rather, managed to guide a shot through on the ground and under Sells into our net to make it 1-1. And at that stage, there was hardly time to kick the game off again when the whistle went. So a 1-1 draw, but nonetheless, a away 1-1 draw against another team regarded as possible championship contenders. Our next game is against a home game against Norwich City, who we again are being talked about in places about possible championship contenders. We send out the same side except for the goalkeeper. Sells is injured and Darlow goes into goal. We set off like a train, is the only way to describe it. We're really up for this by the look of it. And on 24 minutes, Gale gets a nice through ball from Shelby and makes it 1-0. But then, of all things, we give away a silly penalty just before half time, with Dummett bringing down Jacob Murphy, who we know quite well, because he's in the Norwich team, and Dorrans, their dangerous midfielder, gets up and scores the penalty, so it's 1-1 at half time. We come out the second half, and it looks like we might have thrown this one away, because on 52 minutes, Jerome, their dangerous forward, left-sided player, scores a beautiful goal on 52. And then to add to our gloom, Jacob Murphy makes it 3 on 69 minutes, and it looks like we're going to throw this one away. But lo and behold, on 71, Gale gets his second goal. Nice goal after a good interchange played by Colback and Shelby and Diami. And we then have hold our breath to see if we can get an equaliser. Well, right at the death, 90 minutes plus 5, just before the whistle goes, Gouffron gets a beautiful goal from the left, and it gets the equaliser, and everybody's really satisfied. Well, they hardly have time to put the ball back on the spot when Gale gets his hat-trick, runs through on a beautiful ball from Shelby again, and makes it 4-3. And the palpable sighs of relief around St James's Park were there to be seen. But a good example of how this side wasn't going to give in. They were having a go, and it was, thanks to both teams, an enjoyable game to watch. But when we're 3-1 down, I think I, like many others, were biting my nails, thinking, well, this isn't going to end well. Well, it did end well, and it was a good 4-3 win, and puts us back in the right place. However, as befitting a game between two teams that looked like they might be challengers, it was a bit spicy as well. And on the booking side, Colback, Ritchie, Dummett, Mitrovic, and Lascelles for us, and Brady, House, and Dorrans, and Olsen and Jerome for Norwich. It's interesting that Housen, of course, has just finished a spell at Borough as we speak, and but a good game, and the one that puts us back in the top 3, which is where we want to be. Next game is a away game at Rotherham, and Rotherham aren't regarded as challengers, but still a tidy side, full of former Premiership players, and we go with an unchanged team. Changes on the bench. Atsu comes in on the bench again, and it's not long before he's on, actually, because of an injury to Matt Ritchie, and we give a good count of ourselves, and then just before half time, Atsu with a mazy dribble runs onto a nice ball from Shelby and makes it 1-0. We go in at half time 1-0, and we're not going to give it away. You can see the way the defence are digging in, where people like Clark and Handley were not going to give anything away in this game, and we ended up with a 1-0 victory away from home, which was cemented our place in the top 3, which is what we needed. We come home to a home match against Brentford. Brentford not regarded as much more than middle of the league side, but nonetheless we got to take every game as it comes, and with unchanged team, Darlow still there because Sells is just coming back from injury, and so Sells is on the bench, and Same side, Darlow, Anita, Lascelles, Clark, Dummett, that Sue's back in, Shelby, Colback, Gouffran, Perez and Gale, and Brentford come with Bentley and goal. England under 21 goalkeeper Colin, Egan, Dean, Beigeland, Yanaris, McLeod, Clark, Woods, Sawyers, and Hogan. A good football side, but not regarded by pundits as being a threat for the top places. We start off like an express train. 11. It's no surprise when 11 minutes we take the lead from a corner. Clark's up for the corner and heads neatly in at the near post, totally unmarked. 16 minutes and a nice through ball again by Shelby, and he finds Gale right in the right place. Gale rifles it in on 16 minutes to make it 2-0, and we go in at 2-0. The second half starts off in the same vein. It looks like we're going to have another go at Brentford. And sure enough, on 49 minutes, Howard Gale again, this time with sharp interplay between him and Perez, and it's 3. It looks like we're going to coast to that, but just as we're thinking it's getting easy, Hogan, dangerous midfield, left-sided midfielder, makes it 3-1. And puts a bit of pressure on us, but we've no trouble closing the game out after that, with the defence just not giving anything away after that silly goal that they'd given. And Bookins, Gouffran, Colback, and Atsu, Dean, Sawyers, and Woods for Brentford. Not a dirty game, but careless tackles and shirt pulls, and no more than that. But a very interesting game. And of course, one thing I haven't mentioned is that we're now regularly home gates are full houses, 52,000 at this one for Brentford, because people are seeing us sitting there at the top or near the top of the league, and certainly challenging up to the top 4. So the next game is a away game at Barnsley, who again are middle of the league, middle of the table sort of team, but some good old players in their side, producing lots of good football. We go with an unchanged team. Darlow's still being kept in the goal by Rafa. I think he's decided that Darlow's number 1 and Sells will have to wait his chance. Barnsley have Davis, Yadom, Roberts, Jackson, Bree, Kent, Horani, Morsey, Hamill, Watkins, and Winall. And on their bench they have Bird, Andy Townsend, well-known name and still a pundit on television, various channels, Williams and MacDonald. And MacDonald is a player from Leeds that Barnsley had acquired. Good side, playing good football, and stuff in the first half, but neither team's scoring any goals, going at half-time 0-0. But then it isn't long before, after the second half kicks off, that on 49 minutes, what has now become a regular thing, Shelby knows how to find Gale, and when he does, Gale knows where to find the net. And on 49 minutes, Shelby, nice long through ball, and Gale, hardly breaking step, guides it into the bottom corner on 49 to make it 1-0. And as if we're intent on winning and we're going for this, that we're playing some very good football, no danger at all. And because Barnsley didn't take the hint, and on 68 minutes, Shelby repeats the dose, nice through ball to the inside right channel, as I would call it. That's in the right midfield from Shelvey onto Gale's other foot, and he gets his second goal in 68 minutes to make it 2-0 to Newcastle. And we coast to the end on 2-0. And what was an exceptionally good game for us. We played some really attractive football, and people are starting to believe we might actually have a chance in this league now. The next game is a home game against Ipswich Town. Ipswich Town, not regarded as title challengers, but still a tidy side. 52,000 at this game for Ipswich, and just indicating how strongly supporters had the belief that Rafa was going to make with title challengers. Team unchanged, Darlow still in goal, and Ipswich come with Wajkowski, Chambers, Webster, Berra, Knudsen, Grant, Douglas, Lawrence, Ward, Sears and Best. Ward, a very dangerous striker from Stoke, who they bought. Lawrence also, ex-Mackham striker who has always caused such trouble in the past. And on the leading the line, Clive Best is very strong centre forward. But we set off as we meant to go on. Hardly had time to get to our breath after the kick-off when Jose Perez makes it 1-0 in just over a minute. Beautiful goal, fashioned out of nothing. He was just outside the area without any challenge, looked up and outside of his right foot, and before the goalkeeper could move, it was in his bottom left-hand corner. Great start, and we play as though we're going to score a hatful, but it doesn't happen. Lots of chances, but none of them going in the back of the net. After half time, we continue in the same vein, and it's not until 73 minutes when Ipswich didn't take their lesson anyway and do the same thing again and leave Jose Perez just outside the area on his own, and Shelvey finds him, and with a shake of his hips, he's past the defender, and it's 2-0 to Newcastle. Then the game looks like it's going to drift to 2-0, but Richie makes sure that that's not the case, because on 78 minutes, he gets the opportunity to run onto a ball from Dummett and makes it 3-0. So we're taking Ipswich out 3-0, and a good win. And we played like we were the champions, looking at the championship as well, and keeps us in the top two now, and really important one. Next game is at home on the Tuesday night. It's the fourth round of the Football League Cup, and we're playing Preston North End. And we this time, because it's the fourth round and because we've had some good results, the fans are starting to believe. We got nearly 50,000 for this cup match, where the previous one we barely got 20,000. And they're not disappointed, because it's a great game, good game, exciting game. Because from the off, looks like we're up for it. And Preston can't handle Mitrovic, who's in the team now. And on 19 minutes, Mitrovic scores and makes it 1-0 to us. 38 minutes, Diarmi scores from a corner, in a near post flick on in to make it 2-0 at half time. And after the second half starts, 53 minutes, and we get a simple penalty that Preston centre half Huntington, who's the name we know, of course, holds down Mitrovic, and it's 3. And then on 55 minutes, Mitrovic does his own thing and makes it 4. 87 minutes, and Diarmi, again from a poorly marked or a corner, heads in to make it 5. And then on 90 minutes, almost the last kick of the game, 90 plus 1, it says here actually, Osier Perez guides in another of his beautiful placed shots to make it 6. So well and truly through to the next round of the cup, and well done for the fans for their faith in the team, and it all went well. Preston, not a bad side. Lindegaard, Wright, Davis, Huntington, who we know, Humphreys, Brown, Pringle, Grimshaw, Spur, Doyle, and Madinock. And the Doyle is a relative of the Doyles that played for Manchester City for all those years, but not up to it in this game. They weren't even in it. So 6-0, we're through the next round of the League Cup. Now here's another coincidence. Of course, it's a next game is a league game, and where's it at? Preston North End, but away this time in the league. And the two sides are almost identical, hardly any change on either side. And more effort from Preston on this occasion, but it's to little avail. 0-0 at half time, but immediately after half time, it's clear that they can't handle Mitrovic. And on 59 minutes, no surprise when he makes it 1-0. 71 minutes, 2-0, and it's going our way. There's no question about that. And then just to knock the shine off a little bit, almost the last kick of the game, Preston get a corner, and Lascelles, unfortunately, makes a rig of it. It comes off his thigh and goes past Darlow and into the net to make it 2-1. But still a comfortable away win and keeping us in the top 2. Come home to another game against Cardiff City. Not regarded as title challengers, but regarded as a good side playing good football. We have unchanged team. Darlow's still in goal. Yedlin, Lascelles, Clark, Dummett, Atsu, Shelby, Hayden, Gouffran, Perez, and Mitrovic. And Cardiff City with Amos, Pieta at fullback, Morrison, Bamba. Now Bamba is a good old servant for Cardiff and other teams at centre back. Recently had a little bit at Middlesbrough. It's almost as though it was his sunset of his career, as it were. Bennett, Noon, Rawls, Gunnarsson, Richardson, Hoylett, dangerous winger Hoylett with a lot of teams, and Lambert, who is a dangerous centre forward from Bristol. And on their bench, Guy Whittingham, who's been around donkey's years, but he's one of the substitutes. So we go at this one as though we mean it. And 3 minutes, Atsu scored a beautiful goal. We just get into half time when Gouffran fastens onto a typical Shelby through ball and makes it 2-0. So we go in 2-0 at half time. We're playing really well in the second half, but just can't get the third goal to kill the game off. And then just to add beads of sweat to the foreheads of the St. James's faithful, Whittingham comes on as a substitute. He comes on in 76 minutes, and 77 minutes he scores a goal, makes it 2-1, and sets the nerves jangling in St. James's Park. All 52,000 of them again for this game. So we're really packing them in, and that's great. But a comfortable 2-1 win in the end, and we're still stuck where we want to be in the top 2. Next game is is at Leeds, away game at Leeds United. Sorry, that picture that went through was against Cardiff. You can see the blue shirts. Yeah, and next game is an away game at Leeds. Now, Leeds are a different kettle of fish because they are regarded as being possible challengers for the title, and they could easily give us a lot of bother. We unchanged team sent to Leeds, and Leeds have an interesting team. Green, a goalkeeper who's been around a while, Ayling, Bartlett, Janssen, Taylor, O'Kane, Vieira, Roof, Phillips, Dukara, and Wood is a name that we know as well. A good game. Clearly both teams up for it and end-to-end stuff. Fortunately, on 23 minutes, Colback and Shelby, some good interplay, and Colback leaves Gale for a straight run in from the edge of the penalty area to slot the ball in to make it 1-0. 1-0 at half time. Leeds come out second half as though they mean business and given us a great deal of problems, but Lascelles and Clark particularly, and Dummett holding out without much bother. When Perez left alone in the middle of the field, advances very quickly, sees Gale unmarked on 54 minutes. It's 2-0 to Newcastle, settling the lead. And that's a very, very good away win against a very, very good side to keep us in the top two. Interesting, 36,000 at Leeds, which at that time was a reasonable crowd for them. We come home to a game against Blackburn Rovers, not regarded as anything other than the middle of the table side. We've got the same unchanged team with changes on the bench, but not affecting the team. Sells comes back onto the bench because he's fit again, but Rafa keeps Darlow in goal, and it looks as though he's decided Darlow's number one keeper actually. Blackburn Rovers, well, some interesting characters on the side. Steele, a goalkeeper, had been around a while and has links with the Northeast. Marshall, Lenhen, Mulgrew, very clever midfielder. Williams, Feeney, Lowe, Evans, Conway, Gallagher, and Graham. Gallagher, of course, who we knew for a while up here, and Graham on the left side. And again, another player, Graham, that has links with the Northeast, and eventually came back to our friends down the road. Probably, in my opinion, the worst game of the season for us. Everything we tried just went wrong. We just couldn't get a thing right. And Blackburn just realised there were, a bit more pressure, and the game was theirs. And lo and behold, 0-0 at half time. But after the second half, Blackburn really had a go. Then on 75 minutes, Mulgrew, the dangerous midfielder, showed why he needs to be regarded as dangerous when he scores a beautiful goal to make it 1-0 on 75 minutes. And we never looked like we would come back in this game. So it was a disappointing result, and Knox were out of the top three for the first time for a while. The next game is away game in the Football League Cup quarter-final against Hull City. It's a game we should win, where everybody thinks, well, surely this is trip to the semi-final. But it doesn't pan out like that. We go to Hull and with an unchanged team, which the fact that Rafa plays it unchanged shows how serious he is about the game. bit of end-to-end stuff, but nobody seems to be able to score. And of course, get to the end, and there's immediately extra time. So, and there's one or two notables in the whole side that we know. Jakovic, the goalkeeper, El Hamidi, who we know from down the road. Maguire, there's a name to conjure with. Wonder where he is now. Dawson, Robertson, Huddleston from Spurs, Livermore from Liverpool, Myler, Snodgrass, Muckaby, and Domandi. Myler, because well known because he was the one that had the touchline fracas with Pardew in one of our games previously in a previous season. Games a dull 0-0 really. We never looked like scoring, and neither did they. So we go into extra time, and 98 minutes, and we think that's it. We're through. Diarmi scores on 98 minutes. Then lo and behold, just when we're settling down to the thought of a 1-0 win, Snodgrass, their dangerous midfielder, who's been around a while, equalises, and we go into the dreaded penalty shootout, and which we managed to lose, which isn't the first time. Thank goodness that's something we seem to have corrected in recent times. So a trip to the semi-final was snatched away on the basis of penalties, and sad. But on the other hand, I think most people sigh relief in some ways, thinking, well, yeah, we've got a league to win. Let's go for that. That's what matters. So the next game is an away game in the league on the following Friday. That's a Tuesday. The Hull match was Tuesday. On the Friday, away game at Nottingham Forest. A team that are regarded as challengers, and we send an unchanged team to Nottingham, and Nottingham have some interesting names: Stojkovic, Mills, who we know well from commentating and punditry, Pericles, McClenny, Cash, Lansbury. Lansbury always give us tough time playing for Forest. Kashami, Lamb, Licha, Osborne, Bentner, a very dangerous centre forward on his day, but on his way down, made his name with Arsenal really, and it's a good game. First half is end-to-end stuff, and on 45 minutes, the Matt Ritchie screamer from the edge of the box makes it 1-0 to Newcastle, and we go in 1-0. We come out second half, and Forest are really, really having a go at this, and on 52 minutes, it's no surprise when Bentner makes it 1-1. And then at the death, 88 minutes, we have an Lascelles goal. However, during the match, there's all sorts of furore going on, because on 33 minutes, Shelvey is dismissed, so we're down to 10. And on 40, just before half time, 45 minutes plus 2, Dummett is sent off, with all sorts of mayhem going on. And having mentioned Lansbury and Osborne in their team, well, they were two of the people who were very much involved in the sendings off. Lansbury particularly seemed to invite the referee to send Dummett off. But nonetheless, that's how it was. So, despite being down to 9 men, we held on to 2-1, and indeed were unlucky on 2 or 3 occasions because of Gale and Ritchie could both have easily scored and won that match at the death. But we had to settle for a 2-0 loss and 2 people sent off. So a horrendous match in many ways, and a memorable one in terms of looking back at that particular season. So we come home, see if we can get back in our stride. the home game against Birmingham City. Birmingham a good side, but not regarded as title challengers, so it's a good opportunity to get back in stride. Unchanged team. Not an unchanged team, because we got 2 people sent off and they had to be replaced. So out go Lascelles, Dummett and Shelby, and in come Gouffran, Diarmi and Gale, and Lazar comes in for Hayden. But it's a good game. We're playing end-to-end stuff, and it's quite clear Birmingham just can't handle the pace of Gouffran and Gale particularly. And in 18 minutes, it's no surprise when Gale makes it 1-0. 24 minutes, he repeats the dose to make it 2-0, and we go in at half-time 2-0. And immediately after half-time, 48 minutes, Gouffran outruns them and gets onto a long pass from Diarmi to make it 3. And then on 77 minutes, Gale completes his hat-trick on 77 minutes after some good play by Ritchie and Diarmi. Birmingham never really in the game, but it puts us back in where we want to be in the top 2. Birmingham side, Cusack in goal, Cugley, Morrison, Shotton, Grounds, Tichier, Gleeson, Stewart, Cotterill, Allams, and Donaldson. Some people that have been around the league a while, but not in the sense of making them into a dangerous side. So a 4-0 win was comfortable, and as I say, it puts us back where we wanted to be. And despite the disappointment of the cup loss and the loss at Forest, 52,145 at that game, which really is a full house, which is fantastic. And the next game we go away to Wigan Athletic. Again, a team that's not regarded as title challengers, but it's a tidy football side, and one that we do well to take care of on this particular game and this Wednesday night game. And we send an unchanged team, changes on the bench, Atsu on the bench, and Mitrovic on the bench. And the game, it's a good game. We do well. It looks like we're up for it. And on 26 minutes, Diarmi, from a habit he seems to have developed of sneaking in the near post and getting a sneak header in from a corner, makes it 1-0 to Newcastle. And then on 78 minutes, we're playing Wigan by this time, and Atsu fattens onto a nice ball from Gouffran and runs through and makes it 2-0. So a 2-0 victory away is a good result for us and fixes us firmly in the top 2. Wigan, some good old players: Warnock, MacDonald, Perkins, Winchgut, and Grigg, all been around a while, and some good players. And of course, on the bench they have Lafondre, who is still playing now as we speak, as they say. So a 2-0 away victory puts us nicely fixed in our top 2 position, and certainly deserved the football that we're playing. There's no doubt about that. So the next game is an away game again. Is an away game at Burton Albion. A game that's we should be capable of winning. Unchanged side again. changes on the bench. There's our member on the bench, and Burton Albion, were one or two players from the upper leagues who are on their way down. McFadden, McCrory, Naylor, Palmer, Dyer, and O'Grady, all good players in their day, but on their way out. And we really a game we should be winning. So we go. It kicks off at 100 miles an hour, and obviously Burton are struggling like so many defences do to handle Gale's pace. And so it's no surprise when on 15 minutes Gale makes it 1-0. And then Burton, their big centre forward Dyer, on 20 minutes equalises. But then on 34 minutes, Diarmi, again another near post sneaky header, makes it 2-1, and we've got the upper hand. And we keep the upper hand right till the end of the game with another 2-1 away victory, which keeps us firmly and cemented in the top two, which is important to us. So we come home to a game against Sheffield Wednesday. Sheffield Wednesday, not regarded as title challengers, but a good side with one or two fairly well-known professionals in that side. We go with an unchanged team, and also at home with an unchanged team. Sheffield Wednesday come with Westwood, Palmer, Lees, Lufrens, Puddle, Wallace, Hutchinson, Banner, Riak, Fletcher, and Forestry. And they play some really, really good football. We come back at them, but we don't seem to be able to find the net. And it's very disappointing when on 53 minutes we leave their big defender, Lufrens, free at the corner, and we find ourselves on 53 minutes 1-0 down. Try as we might, we can't get back in the game, and it's we go out 1-0 losers, which is extremely disappointing to what is a full house, 52,179. Very disappointing indeed. It's difficult to say it was a dirty game, but Sheffield Wednesday was spoiling, and the net result is they ended up with 6 people on the referee's book: Bannon, Puddle, Riak, Hutchison, Wallace, and Palmer all went in the book, but they got a 1-0 win, which knocks us out of the top two temporarily, we hope. The next game is a home game against Nottingham Forest, and bearing in mind what happened to us when we met them at the City Ground, we owe them one, and we come out as though that's exactly what we intend to do. And on 4 minutes, Matt Ritchie makes it 1-0. We're playing an unchanged team again, and unfortunately, Dimitru, their dangerous midfielder, is on hand when a loose ball from a corner to make it 1-1 at half time. Second half, we really have a go at them, and they're struggling to handle Gale. So it's no surprise when his pace gets him on 63 minutes, gets in our second goal, 2-1. And on 80 minutes, Gale again makes it 3-1, and we're comfortable right to the end. There's lots of leftovers from the previous match, unfortunately, and 3 Newcastle players in the book: Clark, Colback, and Yedlin. 3 Forest players in the book: Lamb, Mills, and Piera. And the Mills, unfortunately, has to go off the ball on 60 minutes and gets a second yellow and is sent to the dressing room. So a 3-1 victory against Forest, which is important in more ways than one. And a crowd of over 52,228 for this game. Kind of tells you how important it was. The next game is an away game at Blackburn. We kind of owe them one, really, in some ways, because they really did knock us off our perch when they came to St James's Park. Well, we've got an unchanged team. Their team is very much virtually the same as the one that beat us at St James's, so we owe them one. But that's not how it goes. It's 0-0, boring 0-0 at half time. And then lo and behold, Mulgrew, their dangerous midfielder, on 74 minutes makes it 1-0 to Blackburn. And we just never looked like we would get into the game and didn't. And ended up with a 1-0 loss, which sadly knocks us out of the top three, never mind the top two. Very disappointing. So then we have a FA Cup third round to look forward to, and we draw Birmingham away from home. In cup matches, even at the moment, us away just sounds like it's got to be. It hasn't changed. In fact, if anything, it's worse now. But never mind. Away to Birmingham, but it's a game that we must have a chance. It depends how seriously we take it. And the team that Rafa sends is virtually the full league team. In fact, he brings in Tiote and Murphy and Mitrovic to bolster the team and say we really have got a good chance. Birmingham City, their usual side, Lazagrins, Spectre, Shotton, Robinson, Grounds, Keith de Bled, Gleeson, Davis, Che Adams, Fabrini, and Jukovic, all talented players, and it's it's end-to-end stuff. 5 minutes, Murphy puts us 1-0 in the lead, and just before half time, on 42 minutes, Jukovic makes it 1-1, and that's how it stays. Second half's didn't look like anybody was going to score any goals, and we have to settle for a replay in the cup, which there was in those days, with a 1-1 draw. But at least it wasn't a banana skin of the sort that we've had in the past. The next game is away to Brentford, who shouldn't be threatening us very, very hard. And we have an unchanged side, and the Brentford side is the one that we played at St James's Park. Bentley, Egan, Dean, Belland, Cullen, Yonaris, Macaron, Woods, Field, Sawyers, and Vibe. And they it's quite a good game. And 20 minutes, Gale outpaces their back line and makes it 1-0, which it stays at half time. Second half, we're a bit careless, and their dangerous midfielder Vibe gets a good shot from the edge of the penalty past Darlow to make it 1-1. And we think that's let's hang on for the draw, but we don't. We actually go for it. And on 79 minutes, Murphy makes it 2-1, and that's how it stays to the end, and puts us back into top three again, which is great news. The next match, of course, is the replay against Birmingham on the Wednesday night for the third round of the cup, and unchanged team. Well, sorry, no, it is a changed team. Sells is in goal instead of Darlow, and a good game. Birmingham unchanged from the team that we drew with at St Andrews, and we set off on this one as though we mean business. 9 minutes, Ritchie scores from a nice shot from the edge of the box. 34 minutes, and Gouffran's pace out does the full-back and makes it 2-0, and that's how it stays at half-time. And it looks like we're going to win this one fairly straightforward fashion. Unfortunately, on 71 minutes, Cotterill, who's dangerous winger, scores and makes it 2-1 and gives a bit of sweat on our brows. But the Newcastle defence just closes. Hanley particularly strong in the back four, and looks like we'll run out 2-1. But at the death, 90 minutes plus 2, Richie running in from the deep meets a loose ball on the edge of the box and makes it 3-1. So a 3-1 win, and we're into the next round of the FA Cup. And glad to be so. The next game is a home game in the league against Rotherham United, a team we should be beating, and we set off in this game as though that's exactly what we're going to do. With right on the stroke of half time, Murphy scoring to make it 1-0. 49 minutes just after the half time whistle goes 2-0 through Richie. 59 minutes Perez, 77 minutes Richie, 4-0, and sailing to a victory and pushing us back into the top, making us firm in the top 3, and not looking in any danger, and much to the relief of 52,208 in this one, which is as near as damn it a full house. So 4-0 win against Rotherham really fixes us nicely in the top 3. We now have the FA Cup 4th round, and we've got Oxford away. Well, it's one of those games there we say, well, Oxford, yeah, that's us through to the next round. Well, what a mistake that was. We sent a strong enough team. Some changes. Baidara was in, Gamez was in, Barlaser was in, 1 or 2 young ones, but we still should have had enough firepower to beat Oxford United. Well, we didn't. 46 minutes, Hemming scores for Oxford. 79 minutes, Nelson scores for Oxford, their long-time captain. And in 87, Martinez makes it 3-0 for Oxford. The defeat's bad enough, but the manner of the defeat was really, really not nice at all, and left us with lots of questions to answer. But not the first time we've been knocked out the cup by a lower side, but this particular one was that the manner of the defeat was worse than anything. And I suppose looking at the team with all the youngsters in, Rafa took his fair share of the blame for sending what the people thought was a weakened team. Well, it still should have been a team that was able to beat Oxford, but such is life. It didn't happen, so we're out of the cup. That's on the Saturday. On the Wednesday, we're at home to QPR. Now QPR, we thumped 6-0 in the first fixture, and everybody's hoping we might get a repeat of that. Well, don't know whether it was a hangover from the cup or what, but we set off as though we would do it again. Shelby scoring on 1 minute with a beautiful crisp shot from edge of the box. Then on 44 minutes, Washington playing for QPR makes it 1-1, and it looks like we're in for a battle. I'm not going to give this up easy. But then on after the half time, 54 minutes, Richie makes it 2-1, and we think, well, that's it, that's the game settled. Lo and behold, right on the whistle, is a speculative shot from Mackie, their dangerous centre forward, which hits Clark on the shoulder and diverts it past Darlow. to make it 2-2. So we end up with a game that we thought we might win at a canter by being lucky to get a 2-2 draw, which was a bit disappointing, but still not knocking us out of the places where we want to be. 48,000 in that game, which was quite something for a QPR side, which wasn't that attractive. Next game was on Saturday. It was a home game against Derby County. Derby, one of the challengers, and we're going to have to be on our game to take this one, with Derby coming with Carson, Baird, who we know, Keogh, PS, Olsen, Butterfield, Johnson, Bryson, Ince, Bent, and Russell. And we've got Darlow, Yedlin, Hanley, Clark, Dummett, Ritchie, Shelby, Hayden, Gouffran, Diarmi, and Mitrovic now, with Perez and Sami Amiobi on the bench for Newcastle. It's a good game, some good football played by both sides, bit of end-to-end stuff. Then on 27 minutes, Matt Ritchie, in customary style, hanging around the edge of the area, picks up a loose ball and makes it 1-0 to us. And that's how it stays. Second half, both sides trying as they could, but couldn't hit the back of the net. So we get a nice 1-0 victory to take us back into the top two. And the next game is a home game against Derby County. Sorry, is a away game rather to Wolverhampton Wanderers. Now, we've had some strong games against Wolves this season already, so we know this isn't going to be easy. We have an unchanged side: Darlow, Yedlin, Lascelles, Clark, Dummett, Ritchie, Shelby, Colback, Gouffran, Diarmi, Mitrovic, and it's an entertaining game. End-to-end stuff in the first half. Right on the half time, a beautiful header from Mitrovic from way outside the goal area makes it 1-0 to Newcastle at half time. And second half is end-to-end stuff, and we give as good as we get, but we hang on to the 1-0 without any problem, with Lascelles and Clark and Dummett really forming a real spine at the back, which Wolves couldn't break down. And so we end up with a nice away victory at Molyneux with 1-0 against Wolves. Puts us back in the top two, as where we hope to be. We then are away to Norwich City. This is a side that's pressing to be in the top 3 or 4, and we go with an unchanged side. Norwich have some names that we know: Ruddy in goal, who we know even more now. Whittaker, Martin, Close, Dilks, Howson, Tetley, Jacob Murphy, O'Hanlon, Winchcut, and Jerome. A tidy side. 1 minute, Alios Perez makes it 1-0 to us, and we're playing as out of our skins at the moment. However, on 12 minutes, Jacob Murphy fastens onto a through ball and just outstrips our back four and makes it 1-1. Then on 17 minutes, the other dangerous attacker, centre forward Jerome, from a corner, heads in beautifully to make it 2-1 to Norwich at half time. But we don't sit back. We have a go after half time, and there's some near misses which got everybody biting their nails, and because it didn't look like we're going to get back in the game. But then on 81 minutes, a typical Lascelles header from a corner makes it 2-2, so it fixes us back in the top 3, which is great, with it being an away game, which was important. we're now home again to another challenger, Aston Villa, who are there or thereabouts with us at the top of the league, and gaining in reputation. 51,000 in St James's for this game, and a good game, some good football. And on 42 minutes, Gouffran outpaces the Villa defence and makes it 1-0. And it looks, that's how it stays at half time. And then second half, we're really having a go at this one and giving Villa as good as they get. We have Gale running through from a nice long ball from Shelvey, has been the pattern of the season, really. And hits the ball, and it hits a Villa defender, Lansbury, who they've just bought from Nottingham Forest, and it goes into the back of the net to make it 2-0. A good 2-0, because we never looked like surrendering this one, and we were playing some really, really good football. A Villa side changed because they just bought Hutton into the side, who was to go for a big money transfer. Chester, Taylor, Lansbury, of course, they just bought, and Hogan. So that rejuvenated Villa side didn't cause us that much trouble, and we sit nicely now back in the top three without much thing. 50,000, as I said, in the St James's for that. That's a Monday night. On a Saturday, we have Bristol City at home. We got the points at Bristol. People think we should get them here. Well, that's often the case. But despite playing very well, we're very careless, and we allow Willenbram and Cotterill, their two most dangerous forwards, too much space. And on 11 minutes and 21 minutes, Bristol City are 2-0 up, and sailing to half time 2-0. We don't seem as though we can dent them at all. Whatever happened in the dressing room at half time, we came out a different side. And on 59 minutes, Bristol defender Smith is in the way of a pile driver from Shelvey, which hits his shoulder and goes flying into the net past the goalkeeper. They make it 2-1. And in 82 minutes, from a dead ball taken by Shelvey, and Clark gets a nice header to make it 2-2. So on 82 minutes, we're back to 2-2. The next 10 minutes is mayhem, of course, as we try to get a winner. We didn't get the winner, but at least we got the point that was important. And 52,100 at this game against Bristol City. So it's a very, very, very important point for everybody. The next game is an away game at Brighton. And these are title chasers, challengers, and they give us a good game. This is Brighton playing beautiful football, really giving us a lot to think about, and we're struggling at times against this clever Brighton side, and particularly against the centre forward Murray, who's always been a thorn in the side against us. And then, no surprise, on 14 minutes, when after a silly foul by Yedlin, Murray steps up and takes the penalty and makes it 1-0 to Brighton. That's how it stays at half time. End-to-end stuff in the second half, but got to be honest and say Brighton have the upper hand most of the time. And then a strange piece of play in the Newcastle half, some interesting interplay, and then Shelvey lets loose a 30-odd yard pile driver, which hits the army on the back of his ankle and sails over the Brighton goalkeeper to make it 1-1. And you can always see the deflation in the Brighton defenders at this ludicrous goal going into the net. The Army, of course, afterwards claims that it was just a piece of clever play. He deliberately intended backheel a bit. But if anybody watches the replay of the match, they'll see that, yeah, pigs do fly, if you believe that. But who cares? It was 1-1. And the impact on the Brighton team was more important, is as much as important as was the goal, because they realised that this was an important fixture for who was going to end up top of the league. And we picked ourselves off the floor after that ridiculous goal, and we give Brighton 10 minutes of hell, particularly Jose Perez, and it was absolutely spot on that it on 89 minutes just before the final whistle. Jose Perez should get a nice goal to make it 2-1 to us, and a victory which really would count for a lot, and did for the rest of the season. Next, we go to Huddersfield. Huddersfield, who upset us at St James's Park totally unexpectedly early in the season, but we don't want that to happen again. And it's clear we're not going to, because on 10 minutes, Richie and an unchanged team makes it 1-0 from the penalty spot after Christian Atsu's pulled down after a nice long run by German defender Schindler. And so we get 10-minute lead. And on 32 minutes, Jacob Murphy makes it 2-0. And that's how we go in at half time. We seem to be coasting to a victory, but then Moy, the American that plays for Huddersfield, steps up and takes a penalty after a silly foul by Dummett, and that makes it 2-1 in a bit sweaty time. But then just before the final whistle, Gale runs onto a nice through ball from Richie to make it 3-1. So we get our revenge against Huddersfield, but a very, very good 3-1 win, sticking us back in the top two. We're now back to another away game against Reading. Reading, who also another team that upset us earlier in the season, but they shouldn't be upsetting us now. Well, they're struggling along the bottom of the league. However, try as we might, good football. We've got an unchanged side, and we're playing as though we're meant it, but we can't hit the back of the net. Some end-to-end stuff. QPR teams, the Reading team is same as the team that played at St James's, but in every sense of the game, we're outplaying them, but we just can't put the ball in the back of the net, and nailed it at half time. Second half comes, and it's just the same. Absolutely, chance after chance goes a begging. So we have to accept a 0-0 away draw, but that's enough to keep us in our league position, which is, in the end, is what is important. Next game we have is a home game against Fulham. Fulham are up there at the top of the league, doing what they can to establish themselves, giving us a hard time, and this is no different. 52,000 at the game, and from the off, Tom Kearney, the midfielder that we would have liked to have had, or at least Rafa would have liked to have had, makes it 1-0 to Fulham before half time. In the second half, their substitute Settingyoung, a dangerous young winger, comes on and just tears us apart. 51 minutes and 59, he scores two beautiful goals to make it 3-0 to Fulham, which is very depressing because this is going to knock us out of the top three, never mind the top two. 76 minutes, Murphy gets a consolation but it is a consolation. We still don't look like we're going to come back into this game, so we end up with a 3-1 loss to Fulham, which is devastating in more ways than one. So then, after a home game, we have an away game at Birmingham City, where Birmingham we should be beating anyway. But after the Fulham defeat and the impact that'll have on my morale, people are concerned about this game. But they needn't be. It's even Steven. But despite the fact we have the upper hand, we just can't manage to hit the back of the net. So we're 0-0 at half time. The second half is a repeat of the first, and despite many chances, we can't get a goal, and we end up with a 0-0 draw, which is at least holds our league position, doesn't make it any worse, but not what we'd hoped for. The next game is a home game against Wigan Athletic. Now, we'd had a good game against Wigan in the return fixture, but let's see what happens here. 52,000 in the crowd, so the crowd still has their faith in what's happening, and we start off very well. It's no surprise when 36 minutes a Gale runs onto a beautiful through ball from Shelvey, which is the trademark pass for this season for us, in my opinion. A number of goals, if you go back and look at them, that Gale scored from that Shelvey through ball is incredible. And so 36 minutes, we're 1-0 up, go in at half time 1-0, and seem to be coasting. And then bit of carelessness at a marking, and Jacobs there, dangerous winger, sneaks in and makes it 1-1 on 50 minutes. And people think, oh goodness, we're going to throw this away. Well, fortunately, on 57 minutes, Matt Ritchie pops up where he's quite often does, and makes it 2-1. And after that, it's us hammering Wigan. They were very fortunate that it stayed at 2-1, but it just unnerving that we gave that silly goal away, because it set us back badly. But once we got on terms, we didn't look like in any danger at all. Next game is a home game on the Wednesday against Burton Albion, and a game really we should have no problems with. Unchanged side, changes on the bench. Amiobi's on the bench, and Haidara's on the bench. Burton Albion, with the team that played us at their ground, it was the same, and with some good, tidy players, but not players that should be hurting Newcastle United. However, they dig in first half. We play well, but Burton's defence is resolute. It's 0-0 at half time, and after the half time whistle, it looks like it might end that way at the end, because there's no way Burton are going to give this up. But then a piece of magic from Matt Ritchie. Again, another loose ball on the edge of the area, and who's there with his right foot to this time to smash the ball home to make it 1-0 to Newcastle. And that's how it stayed. We weren't going to give that win up, and Burton didn't have the skill to do anything about it. So a nice 1-0 victory, which gives us our position back in the top two, and just short of 50,000 of the game as well. So the fans still have the faith, as it were. The next game is an away game at Sheffield Wednesday. Not a game we should be frightened of. I mean, they're just above the bottom half, barely in mid-table, but really, we're really off it in this game. It's lots of chances, but we couldn't take one, and neither could they. So 0-0 at half time. The second half, Sheffield Wednesday's dangerous defender from set plays, Lees, gets onto the end of a Fletcher free kick and makes it 1-0 to Sheffield Wednesday on 59 minutes. Then on 68 minutes, the same Fletcher plays some nice interplay with Wallace and makes it 2-0 to Sheffield Wednesday. And then on a more as a consolation than anything, John Joe Shelby scores a peach of a goal on 88 minutes to make it 2-1, which unleashed 5 minutes of absolute hell for Sheffield. But they held out on a 2-1 win, which sadly for us pulled us down to out of the top three. The next game is the home game against Leeds United. We know this is going to be a tough game because Leeds aren't far away from where we are, and a strong side. And 52,300 at this game. That really is a full house, and not surprising with it being Leeds. A good game, but first half nobody can hit the net. Second half is similar, but then on 67 minutes we get a corner, and up comes our captain supreme Lascelles to head us into the lead 1-0, and we think, well, that's it, that's settled. However, we shouldn't do that when there's a centre forward called Wood around the place, and from a simple free kick, he heads in to make it 1-1, and Leeds go home with a point. But that's still keeps us where we want to be, in the top three, or near the top three at least. The next game is a away game at Ipswich, and Ipswich are mid-table, nothing special. Well, somebody forgot to tell them, because even though we had an unchanged team and looked like we were up for the fight, etc., first half was all Ipswich. 42 minutes, Sears scores an open goal for them. Then we battle away and trying to get back away. Murphy on 62 minutes equalises. And then we go to sleep when McGoldrick, one of their dangerous strikers, sneaks in on a corner to make it on 69 minutes to make it 2-1. And then just to add grist to the mill, or salt to the wound, whatever metaphor you want to use, Hughes, their dangerous midfielder, scores a peach of a goal from about 30 yards, so just after 90 minutes, to make it 3-1 to Ipswich. And that does send the nerves rattling a little bit, because we're now bouncing around third place, where we actually want to be in the top two, not in third place. So the next game is a home game against Preston North End, and it's worth saying that if we these last three games, we need to get something out of if we're going to be in the top two, because Brighton are pulling away. They're ahead of us by about 4 points at this stage. So we get Preston. We'd already given them a dusting down in the League Cup. And it looks like we'll do it again, because on 7 minutes, Jose Perez makes it 1-0 with a beautiful goal. But again, we're careless, and Hugill, their dangerous centre forward, on 14 minutes makes it 1-1. But then Christian Atsu, right on half time, gets a typical Christian Atsu goal and dribbles through their defence to make it 2-1. And that's how it stays at the half-time whistle. Second half, we're really having a go at them, and on 65 minutes, because of a Huntington foul on Mitrovic, which is a replica of what happened in the cup game, actually, almost identical circumstances. Huntington just manhandling Mitrovic to the ground, upset Matt Ritchie to make it 3. Then on 67 minutes, another beautiful piece of play by Jose Perez makes it 4-1. So a nice tidy victory that puts us back into the top 2, which is a good time to be doing it. And then we now have away game at Cardiff. Not going to be easy, but whatever Rafa said to the team, they played very well. First half it was 0-0, but could easily have been 2 or 3-0 to Newcastle if we'd taken our chances. And the second half continued the same. And it was no surprise when Atsu on 55 minutes made it 1-0. And then Hayden from a header from a free kick on 65 minutes made it 2-0. And that's how it stayed till the end of the match. So another very important 3 points at this stage of the season, cementing us in our second place. And we now come to the last game of the season, which is a home game. 52,279 at the game against Barnsley. The game surely we'd win, and we needed to win to stay where we are in second place. But more important than that, by now Brighton have dropped a few points, and their away game at Aston Villa is being played at the same time. And depending on the result of their game at Aston Villa and our result against Barnsley, could determine which of the two ended up as champions. And Brighton were in the box seats. Everybody expected them to get a victory at Villa. And we set off 23 minutes. Perez scores our first goal and makes it 1-0. So we're coasting at half time. By then, the word's out that Brighton are in the lead at Villa Park. 1-0 and not having any trouble at all. 59 minutes, defender Mbemba scores a nice header from a corner to make it 2-0 to Newcastle. And then almost the last kick of the game, Howard Gale, with his signature run onto a Shelby through ball, made it 3-0 and secured our place at least at second. So we're promoted. That's the important thing. So as Gale's last minute goal for 3-0 goes in, the cheering continues afterwards, because by now people are hearing on the radios and it's being relayed back from various places that Aston Villa have equalised. And our friend from who was transferred to Manchester City, Jack, was scored the goal that managed it. So we ended up hopeful of just getting promoted and ended this match being champions. I remember the euphoria around the ground when this happened, and it was really wonderful to be there, and well deserved from Rafa, because from the start to the finish, the press outside of Newcastle didn't give us a chance, didn't think Rafa could do it, and he did with aplomb, I have to say, despite some of the difficulties he had with Mr. Ashley. And there's the photograph I wanted to talk to you about, because thanks to Steve Hasty and I got the chance to have a sojourn into the office with Rafa, and that was half hour of football magic I'll never forget, with Rafa explaining to Steve and I the intricacies of his defensive plan, using potato wedges that he had left on his tea plate. And then while we were talking, in walked Chris Hughton. Not Chris Hughton. In walked. Sorry, no, that's the Brighton game. Yeah, not the last game. In walked Chris Hughton to have a word with Rafa, and they didn't shush us away. They just continued the conversation as though we were part of it. With Rafa saying to Chris, "Well, I think you're going to have a good shot at this, Chris," and Chris saying to him, "Well, you'll not be far behind," etc., etc. All very nice and friendly. And then bizarrely, there's a television screen behind us, you can see, while they were talking, who should come on the television screen behind them but Pardew talking on the television about his game. So it was bizarre to have two Newcastle managers with us and the third one, ex-manager, on the television behind me. But that was a fascinating insight into that man, Rafa. I make no secret of the fact that I'm hugely disappointed that we couldn't hang on to him for when the takeover happened. But but he's a remarkable man, and not given the dogs lickings of a dog by the Southern press that we would do anything. That's an even better one, Steve. But that's something I'll remember. The chat as much as anything, because the guy's a gentleman, a real gentleman, and it was a lovely way to finish the season, to actually have that 20 minutes with Rafa and Steve, and have the game pointed out to us in potato wedges was quite something.
Only Rafa could do that.
Well, yes, it's something Steve and I never forget. I'm sure if Steve was there, he'd be on about the potato wedges as well. But it was lovely, and I'm always grateful to you, Steve, for that opportunity.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
And a great season, a good season, a one that started with we're being given no chance, and ended up with being the heroes, and given the championship by nobody other than Jack Grealish of all people. His equaliser cemented it, which was something we didn't expect. But great season, season.
Thoroughly enjoyable review as well. Thank you for doing it, George, and we look forward to life back in the Premiership on the next show.
Absolutely. And
thanks very much.
And thanks for watching, everybody. Do appreciate it.
A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. You can find them at skipsandbins.com. Contact them, www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. Their website, mrvickies.co.uk. Telephone 01768 210 102 or email info@mrvickies.co.uk. Thanks to our NUFC Matters fanzine sponsor, United Group Travel. Travel and Tourism Award winners 2024. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. All excursions included, 3-star plus quality hotels, no interchanges, a 2-crew driver and courier. It's a local family company, and you can find them at www.unitedgrouptravel.com or telephone 01670 632 460 or mobile 0791 666 4174. Big thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the technical side of things. And if you want to help support the channel, hit the subscribe button. We do 7 shows a week. Hit the thumb up under the video. That's the like button. It does help us grow. And click the share button. Help share to your social media. If you want to join the channel for as little as $1.99 a month, then hit the join button under this video today. We also help the food bank on this channel. Visit nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk. It takes you to the matchday bucket where you can donate some money virtually. Some events for your diary in aid of Dementia Matters. The Long Sands will be reforming and be supported by Lilac Lane and the Chris Norris Band at the Cluny in Newcastle on Saturday, January the 4th, 2025. Tickets are £15 pre-sale from newcastlelegends.com. An evening with Peter Beardsley takes place at the Tyneside Irish Centre on the 10th of January 2025. Tickets available from newcastlelegends.com or from Woucher. And an evening with the Entertainers takes place on the 24th of January 2025. Telephone the box office 0844 249 1000 or visit the website tynetheatreandoperahouse.uk. And the Magpie Lounge at Gateshead Leisure Centre is now open. 7 talk-ins for £99. Joe Allen will be hosting talk-ins with Lee Clark, John Anderson, Steve Howie, Darren Peacock, Supermac, Steve Watson, John Beresford, all between the dates of January and July.